All right. Well, I am so thrilled to be sitting down and having this chat with you because I don't know about you, but I kind of trust the rhythms of life. You were very, very prominent in my life for quite a significant chunk of time at a real pivotal time for me. And like your style of coaching has left this indelible mark on my heart. It's like you've left a Haley-sized thumbprint on my heart because I'll never forget some of your teachings like that have just stayed with me for at least, I would say, a good solid 5 years now. And I found the other day, I was going through my cupboard here in my office, and I've got all my journals and all my notebooks on the bottom shelf. And I grabbed one in particular. I don't know why it caught my eye, but I opened it up, and on the first page it said super abundant with Hayley Carr.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God. And I started reading through my notes and I was like, God damn, there's some absolute golden nuggets in this. And I've set it aside so that I can sit down and properly read through it again. And I think it's so beautiful that we're sitting down to have this conversation now because you are at the time of recording, you're putting Super Abundant back out in the world again.
Yes, after a long break too. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, like, first of all, how long is the break between drinks of Super Abundant? Do you know how long? When was the last
Yeah.
time you ran it before this current time that you're going to run it now?
It was 2023, same time of the year, but
Yeah.
2023. It was meant to happen again in 2024, but didn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And what I find so interesting is, as I was saying at the start about trusting the rhythms of life, is like you were very much on my radar for quite a significant amount of time. And then I kind of like, like just moved with my rhythm and sort of ended up sort of elsewhere and kind of meandered along. And then just recently, I don't know why, but I just felt this really, really strong pull to reconnect with you again. And we reconnected, which was just so lovely. And then I asked you to be on this podcast, and you said yes, which is even more fabulous. And now I get to sit down and have this conversation with you. And I just love how I think when you've got a really beautiful connection with somebody and you really vibe with them and you really resonate with them, you can really trust that it's going to take its own sort of it's going to do its own dance, over time. And something I really value about you is that, and I know I'm not sure if this is still in your bio or whatever, but it was something around like classic timeless coaching. And that's what I think of you. And I think of you, I think of classic and I think of timeless and teachings that stand the test of time. And I know though that, that doesn't mean though that we stay the same. It doesn't mean that all your teachings are set in stone and you'll never change them or evolve them because, we are constantly changing and evolving. And I would love to know, what does this year look like for you? Because yeah, you've kind of been off my radar, then you came back onto my
Yeah.
radar, and I know that you've told me before, like us jumping on for this conversation today, that um, you yourself have been in a creative hibernation of sorts or a creative winter, and I can really resonate to that this year especially. And I would love to know, what does that look like for you? How's that felt for you?
Oh, well, I love that we're here. I love that and I totally agree about things dancing and taking its seasons. And so when I have a creative sort of hibernation or hiatus, I do aim to trust it as best I can. That's not always easy because my business, as you know, and as many business owners, their income runs off the back of their creativity. Their ability to continue to grow and all of that runs off the back of creativity. So it's so important for us to be able to continuously create. I'm very grateful that my business doesn't 100% rely on me sort of churning things out because the last 12 months, can I swear?
Fuck yeah, of course you can. It's my podcast.
Been an absolute shit show, my life, my personal life. And so my hiatus was a survival. I'm going to say use that word intentionally. It was a survival decision. I had a surprise divorce, like so much has gone on in my personal life. And in order to be able to take care of myself and take care of my business and take care of like the things that need to be tended to at this time, I had to first of all, I couldn't actually create the way that I was before. Just my creative brain sort of switched off. I think it did actually go into survival mode. But secondly, I had to take some things off my plate because my bandwidth was taken up with so much other stuff and just dealing with the shock and the whatever that comes with that. I won't go into that. That's a thing I don't want to talk about. But like, yeah, so that's been where this has come from. And it has been scary and it's been shocking. And I've wondered at times, is my creativity ever going to come back? Because sometimes I've sat down and gone, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do something. And like, just absolute crickets. It's like I've been banging my head against a brick wall, but it has come back. Even in those times, I've said to myself, okay, we have to just trust the timing of it, even though it doesn't make sense, even though it's scary, even though it totally feels like you're going to lose everything. And I'm really grateful that I did not try to force it, because I really needed to. It's kind of like nourishing your body, you know, nourishing yourself and rebuilding those roots so that you can actually, when you do speak, it's genuine, it's not pushed or forced. So yeah.
Yeah, and that is something that I said on Instagram stories just the other day, is like the only time that you're ever going to see something from me online is when I genuinely have something to say,
Yeah.
because I'm not the kind of person who can create or manufacture for the algorithm or to meet some kind of self-imposed or externally
Yeah.
expected deadline. It just, that to me is just, it's inauthentic, it's insincere, and that's not when we're doing our best work. And just what you've alluded to just then, I have had so many conversations this year, especially with so many women who have navigated some sort of surprise or shock change, and myself included. Like, I didn't expect to be made redundant. I thought I was going to be cut back to part-time work, and then all of a sudden, no, we're going to let you go completely. And the unraveling and the detangling and all of the stuff that I've had to move through this year to really sort of untangle my identity from, or my work, my identity and my worth from my career. And I know other women who I've spoken to um, have had to do very similar things, either also because of their career and being made redundant or fired, and really then struggling to pick up work afterwards, and also significant relationships coming to an end, or like really challenging health news coming their way that they've then had to navigate. And it can be really easy to go down with that ship. Like, that stuff can really sink you. And I think it definitely sort of was trying to pull me under for a very long while. I felt like I was treading water and trying to just keep my nose above the surface for so long. And like you spoke so beautifully though about trusting those quiet seasons, or trusting those tough seasons. And I'll never forget, and forgive me if I butcher this, but there was something that you said, or you've said a few times throughout the course of me knowing you, and that is, when times are tough, we don't rise to the occasion, we sink to the level of our training. And I
That's
don't know, is that right?
yeah, you got it right.
Oh my God. Because that is something that I have said to myself time and time again. I've said it to countless clients over the years since I first heard you say it. And I would love to know, like, for you this year, what has sinking to the level of your training looked like to get you through, through your own personal winter, through your creative hiatus? Like, what has that looked like for you?
That's such a good question. So ultimately, I know that, and I know this is how so many of us feel when we have like a positive mindset about something, or a positive mantra or something like that. It's really easy to believe it when things are good. And when the proverbial hits the fan, it's like, nope, this is bullshit. I'm out of here. I'm quitting. Like, it's over, you know? And so I know that for sure, that it's actually the hardest time to trust in what you know, when it looks like on the surface everything is going wrong. And I know that my training over the year, and this has been a really long time of trying to rewire my brain, and it started back when I was a martial artist. Like, everything could be going wrong, you just need to focus on getting the next point, sort of thing. And metaphorically, that can apply to anything. Just make your bed, or just go and write the next sentence, or just, whatever it might be. So that has helped me so much in knowing that when I am absolutely convinced I am definitely, it's all over, like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, it's completely ruined, like I'm going to lose everything, whatever. Even when I totally am 100% convinced, and I even have evidence that it's all going to shit, and I am up that creek without a paddle, it's still working. Even when I'm convinced it's absolutely not working, even then it is still working. And that has been my absolute saving grace. Aside from that, though, I surrounded myself with a lot of support. So I told my people, I got on board with like a really great therapist who could help me through exactly what I needed to, took on mentoring with a coach, like signed up for body work, did everything I possibly could, friends, family, like I've got my team in place so I can kind of just lean back wherever it's possible for me to, because just getting through each day was hard enough. And having that, when I was convinced, like, I don't know what to do next, the people in my life were like, you have so got this. You're doing such a good job. You're going to be okay. This is actually all part of it. You're working towards things, you know, reminding me. And I was like, okay, that's good. So I think those two things in combination, like me knowing that I'm going to forget this. I'm going to forget that even though it's hard, it's still working, but I'm going to have people in my life that are going to remind me when I'm telling them it's definitely not going to work, that it's definitely still working.
Yeah, I love that so much. Is just, yeah, having your own personal mantra of something of that version of like, I'm still doing a great job. I'm still moving forward, even if
Yeah.
it feels like I'm stuck in the mud right now, or I'm like drowning under the weight of all of this. I'm actually still moving forward. I'm still making this happen. It's still working. Yeah. And absolutely as well, I'm with you 100% on just curating the most, oh, I don't even know what the right word is, but curating the most intentional group of people to
Yeah.
support you through a tough time is something that I don't think we highlight enough, because I mean we're not meant to do this alone. We're not meant to go through life alone. We all are seeking a sense of belonging. You know, we all are meant to belong to a tribe, you know, we're meant to be part of a community.
Yeah.
And I think there can be so much shame for women, especially when it comes to something going unexpectedly wrong in our lives. Like, I know for me, I did not expect to be made redundant like between the age of 40 and 41 and
Mm-hmm.
then be like on the job market on Seek, like looking for work at like at this age. I thought I was going to be so much more established in my career. I thought my business was going to look completely different. And there were all these narratives running through my mind that I had to completely rewire and
Mm-hmm.
rewrite. And that has just been this ongoing process. And I think what's really gotten me through is definitely, and really interesting as well, when something like this happens, the people that step up in your life as well, and the people that step away. And, you know, the people who have stepped forward and have really sort of like offered support in the truest sense of the word. I, yeah, I don't know that I would have gotten through my darkest days and nights um, as I did. Like, I know I would have got through them, but as I did, without opening up and telling these people how I was really feeling and what I was struggling with, and that I felt like shit. I felt worthless. I felt like a failure. Um, all of that just really it did really help. And like, yeah, I just think we really, really underestimate, number one, how resilient we really are. And number two, the value of an intentionally curated support network. But also, like, I just feel really sad. I feel really sad about the shame we carry when something like this goes wrong as women. And I wonder if, you know, if there is a woman listening right now who either she has lost her job, or she's lost a significant relationship, or she's going through something really, really tough right now, and she's feeling shame about it. Is there something that you could offer that has helped you and would help them?
100%. Do
Mm.
not keep it to yourself. Just talk to someone about it, even if it is writing it. If you don't have anybody to talk to, write it out. You need to get it out of your body, because shame thrives. I think Brene Brown, I'm going to butcher this, but she did say something to the effect of shame thrives in secrecy. So talking it out, you realize you're not alone in it. There are so many others who have gone through it with you. It's actually so normal. And the one thing I have learned in the past 12 months is just how many of us are wearing masks. We're all dealing with something and showing up and doing our very best and not really talking about what's going on. And that's sometimes what's appropriate. It's not always appropriate to do it. But when you really get down to it and start being honest, it is so healing for everyone involved. you're not carrying it. Mm.
Oh my God, I can so attest to this as well because it was really interesting. I didn't even realize. It's so funny how convincing we can be of ourselves, was
Yeah.
that I actually didn't realize the masks that I was wearing until I had a very ugly but private mental breakdown at home by myself one night. Um, and then I just and like I was forced to then admit, because even though I was having this mental breakdown at home, I in my hazed state, I ended up ringing my husband and scaring the shit out of him because he was interstate, and he was like, "What is going on with you?" And then like the next morning, having to have that follow-up phone call with him and saying, "Actually, I'm not okay." Kind of gave it away last night. Finally
Yeah.
dropped the bundle, dropped the mask, dropped the everything.
Yeah.
That yeah, like I really wasn't as okay as I thought I was, and that this was so much harder and heavier than I had realized. And it wasn't until I had let the words spill out
Mhm.
that I realized what I was carrying. And I think that for a lot of us, yeah, the masks have become so integrated that we think, oh no, that's just who I am. You just get on with it.
Oh,
You don't do this, you don't do that, you don't tell people that, you don't share that. You just
yeah.
push through, push through, push
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yeah. It's how women survive in the world. We put on
Mm.
the masks as we are all carrying way too much of a mental load. And if one person has children, the other person has a job where they're over functioning. It's not about what is going on or what's going on in your life or how many responsibilities you have. We all overfunction. Well, I'm going to say most of us overfunction as a way of survival. And I think that most people are carrying something they don't even know is just masked. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is scary. I scared myself.
Mm.
And that really prompted me into a whole nother way of healing myself that I probably wasn't ready for until that point, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
And what it's revealed to me since is, because I have done all of this unraveling and detangling work of my worth and my identity with my career. Um, it's like the layers of the onion. You know, you peel one away and you're like, okay, cool, I've dealt with that. And then all of a sudden it's like, hello, here's this next thing that you have to look at now. And so for me now, where that's sitting is very much around self-identity, as in self-image rather. So like
Mhm.
how I see myself now, just as a woman, now that I've like dealt with the career stuff, which was obviously the top layer and the most prominent mask. It's like, okay, now let's talk about how I see myself as a woman, full stop.
Mhm.
And this layer feels particularly confronting.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one feels particularly raw and tender. But you know, like I'm willing to go there because I think there's something really powerful and untapped in the theme of self-love for women, because I think there's definitely like a well that we have not tapped all the way down into yet, because if we did, we would all be fully aware of the magnitude of our power and our greatness and our brilliance, and we wouldn't be wearing these masks. We wouldn't be having to survive the way we've survived. But there's a lot to unpack there. And I think for everybody that is going to look different, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, and just with identity though, you know, a lot can be said about, you know, really what it means to be visible as well as a woman. You know, when it comes to our identity, and having gone through what you've gone through in the past 12 months, how has that changed the way that you show up in the world now? And especially as a business owner, and especially as an online business owner, how has that either shaped or influenced or changed or transformed how you're now choosing to show up online, especially?
Yeah. This is actually such a raw kind of question because in that time I got trolled online. I know. She's face palming.
I had to mute because I was just like absolutely losing my mind just then.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah, I know. It was awful to read what was said. But you know, a part of it, I think I think it only really affects, well, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I can say for me, a part of it, it really affected me because I think a part of me was like, is it actually true? Like, who do I want to be online kind of thing? Am I actually showing up in an authentic way for me? And I think I would say 95% of the time, yes, but I was still battling with how do I don't really, can we please normalize that we don't have to do things for an algorithm and show up all the time? And that's the value of the business. But I didn't have words around it a lot of the time. So after finding out what was being said, it deeply affected me. It made it not feel safe at all to be seen. And I kind of had to come back to a very baseline level of thinking in terms of who is this person that shows up online? And I mean, I went probably a little bit too meta with it all, but you start to have those conversations with yourself and ask those big, deep questions. And ultimately, it's resulted in paring it all back, stripping it all away, and realizing that over probably the course of 8 or 9 years, I was doing a lot of things to compensate the fact that my brain is really squirrely and I'm very creative, and like my creativity is quite chaotic. And what I mean by that is chaotic creativity that's not the opposite of calm. That is like the raw data and the raw material for something new, for something fresh, for something alive that is self-expressed, that's authentic and original. It's not like blah, like you can't do it function. I'm not non-functional, but I was trying to create in a way that suited what I was being told you're supposed to do in business. And this was like really subtle, but very consistent messaging that has happened over a very long time for me. I'm a highly sensitive person. I do not function in that way. And I even coach people on this, but something just insidious was getting through and making me think I needed to somehow be a little bit more organized or like, I don't know, put together or something. It was killing my creativity. So that part, like after having that experience and coming back online, I don't know, I feel like I'm just letting myself be a little bit more chaotic in the way that I'm creating and doing things that feel more aligned and more authentic and more natural. Like right now I have a bad back and I'm walking while I'm posting, or I'm like voice noting, and someone taught me how to do like the AI script when you voice note things, and that's been a godsend because I can actually move around and actually get that creative energy out of my body through movement. And it's making such a big difference to how I feel like I can show up and just actually get things done, even if it's not perfect. So it was a blessing in disguise, but it took a complete sort of breaking it back down to the core and going, what am I hating about this, or what's not working, what feels draining? And then ultimately I've ended up going back to doing what I was doing 10 years ago, which feels more me than ever.
Isn't that so wild? I love to call that the reverse epiphany, where you
Yeah.
figure out what you don't want or what you hate about something, or what you're like, no, this is definitely what I don't want. I'm not willing to do this.
Yeah.
That is not me. No, 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 no. And every no leads you closer to the yes
Yeah.
that you ultimately get back to. And it's so funny that you say, well, ultimately now I'm just showing up how I did 10 years ago, which feels more like me than ever. And it's like, yeah, who were we before all of these business coaches who told us, and I use air quotes, business
Yes.
coaches who
Yeah.
told us how to be like them, because that's the formula for success. And it makes me so sad to think of all the iterations I put myself through
Mm.
online in particular, and having to show up on Instagram and all those kinds of things in all the ways that were modeled to us as the model for success or the formula for success. And it just felt like, how many times did I betray myself over all those years whilst trying to still bring myself through in everything that I was doing, but I wasn't doing it the way that I wanted to do it, the way
Yeah.
that felt natural to me. And I think it's so beautiful that you're giving yourself full-blown permission. And like my favorite marketing strategy of all time is fuck it. and then
Mhm.
doing what immediately comes after that. Is like when you get to the point where you go, fuck it, that's like that's the intersection of truth right there, where you get over all the bullshit and you reach the fuck it intersection, and then you just move forward in the way that you want to do. And that's ultimately what ends up feeling good and resonating with others as well.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that so much. Can I ask, how long did you step away from social media for?
A long time.
Yeah.
Like it was probably for months at a time in chunks, but there was probably an 18-month period where I didn't do a podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. But I refuse, absolutely refuse to believe that my business will cease to function if I'm not showing up online. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm very grateful for that belief because I disappeared.
Yeah. And I think as well, when you reach that point, and hopefully, not everybody like has to go through such a traumatic experience of what you got put through. But like I know so many of us that are just like, oh God, like why does this all just feels too hard? It's not as nice as it used to be. It's really lacking that community spirit. It feels like we are just all just a bunch of monkeys dancing to the beat of the algorithm to try and like be seen, and like it's like not cute and it's not fun anymore. And so it's like, okay, cool. Well then, if you were to say fuck it and just go to hell with all of this garbage we don't like about it and come back to the essence of what we did used to love about it, how would you want to show up?
Mhm.
What would you want to post? How would
Mhm.
you like to post it? And yeah, I always like, for me, I know if I'm ever going to do anything, I need to follow the path of least resistance, which is just like, what's the simplest way I can share this? And what's the easiest way to get it out there that just feels most like me? Okay, boom. That's the strategy to follow for me. Um, and I'm so glad that you have found your way back to it as well in your own way. And like
Yeah.
doing what works for you is like, yeah, maybe moving and using like, speech to text or some AI supporting functions is like the way to get it out there. And that's working. And that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
I'd love to know as well, though, when, because I know for some people, especially if they're listening and they're a business owner and they're like, I don't know that my business could survive without social media. If I was to step away or stop posting, how are people still going to find me? How am I going to bring in clients, or whatever the case may be? What do you find, coming back to the classic and the timeless, like what has worked for you to keep your business ticking along, even when you chose to take those big chunks of time stepping back from socials?
This is such a huge, huge topic, but I will say I've always made decisions in the business from go to woe of which platforms do I own, therefore, which ones am I going to put my most intention into. I'm not huge on building an email list just for the sake of having massive numbers, but I have a very engaged email list. I have created assets that live on the internet and people can search for, so people can actually discover my work. So when we did a podcast, so we have the Super Freak podcast, and when we did that podcast, it's not searchable, a podcast. So we actually embedded all the episodes onto a blog post and did SEO. So people actually find the podcast episodes through searching on Google. I mean, that's just kind of basic stuff, plus YouTube as well, all searchable places. But you know what? Word of mouth and repeat business has been my absolute business strategy from the beginning. When you do good work, when you like ask people if they know anyone who would love your work, I go back to my email list and I say, here's a new thing that we can do together if anyone's interested. And that has kept everything going for the past few years. And I'm very, very grateful. But that's what I was taught from the beginning. And that's why I just refuse to buy into this kind of algorithm thing, because it's getting so loud and it's boring.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And I'm really glad you touched on that, because those are really classic, timeless, evergreen strategies that will stand the test of time, no matter what platform is popular or whatever the algorithm is doing. And I love that you were so locked into that from the very beginning, and that has continued to work for you. And I
Mm.
think as well that's really good for other people to hear, because it's never too late to start doing that, and really start building a beautiful body of work in, whether that is written, video, audio, whatever you're passionate about and whatever industry you're in. There's absolutely no reason why you can't have those assets online that people can discover and connect to you through, regardless of whether you're posting 17,000 times a week on Instagram or not. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love that.
I think there's one more thing I'd like to add, and that
Mm.
is just being authentic as well. So I did disappear, but I don't make promises to an audience that I'm going to be consistent and this is what consistency looks like. Just like you said the other day, I only show up when I've got something to say. And when I do, I aim to just be as raw and honest as I feel comfortable being public as well. And I think that has led to a really nice connection with the people who read the emails that we send out and stuff like that, because they're all written by me. And a girlfriend of mine said to me the other day, like, I can tell your emails aren't written by AI. There's like a soul to them. And we do use AI sometimes to like tidy up logistical emails and things like that. But my creative work is all me. I find it so much easier to just and like get it out instead of using AI for it. But that has made a big difference too, because I really feel, this is just my personal opinion. I know there's a lot of like really positive stuff about AI and productivity and what it can do, but I really feel as a creative, it's watering down a lot of like essence of why people's personal brand was so special in the first place. And when you can tell, you can just tell it's been written by something that's just not got the soul behind it. Um, and I always think there's a nice balance. You can strike it, but in keeping what makes your business or your personal brand actually you, like for you, Sonia, the way that you create that fuck it strategy, that's part of what makes it work for you. And the authentic nature of that is what makes people money. Authenticity. People can just feel it. I could pick up a Sonia jacket on a rack in a cave in Greece in a boutique somewhere and be like, that's Sonia. I know it because it's so authentic. You know what I mean? That's what I think will keep businesses going no matter what happens with this. And I'm sort of getting off topic in terms of AI, but no matter what happens with this AI situation and creativity.
Yeah, that it's so true. It just really does come back to that like timeless quote of know thyself, right? Is
Yeah.
like if you know how you work best, why have we been fighting against it for so long? Like I can speak to that very personally, is that I am very good at making myself wrong. And it has been such a piece of work for me to make myself right,
Mm-hmm.
to just be like the way that I naturally do things is right for me. So how do I just want to naturally do this? And it's been a really interesting piece for me to note. And like I know yours has obviously been, influenced by injury in that you've had to like work out how can I move my body so that I can stay like in flow and limber while in creative flow at the same time. So you can really tap into that creative energy and let the words flow literally. For me as well is like, how can I get out of my own way to get
Mm-hmm.
this story out? And it's been very, very interesting for me, just recently, just really discovering a love of audio, which is wild for me because I've never liked the sound of my own voice. I've had it ridiculed many times throughout my life in very public and demeaning ways. And yeah, it's been one of the most healing things I've ever done, especially when it comes to my creativity, because I feel like it removes all the bullshit filters out of the way and lets me just say what I want to say. And honestly, my life changed. I'm not a very tech savvy person. And my life changed a few months ago when I realized I could record myself speaking on the voice memo app on my phone and it transcribes it for you.
I was like yesterday years old when I found this out. It's been life changing. Friday, just last Friday, I found that out.
It honestly, I was like, what? Because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I wonder if I could upload this into ChatGPT and then ChatGPT will transcribe it for me. And I think I must have Googled it. And then it was like, oh no, Google told me that, like, no, your voice memo app can just transcribe it. You just have to hit this button. And I was like, oh my God. My God, this is amazing.
Game changer.
Game changer.
Yeah.
But so funny how like and I think this is the way to, like what you were saying, is how to strike that beautiful balance between using technology to help you get your story out there, connect with your community, put your work out there, but really maintaining that core ingredient of authenticity. And I think that's a word that has been absolutely commercialized and commoditized over the years and has been, absolutely kind of butchered. But now I feel like there's a real reclamation coming for that word, especially in the age of AI, which is, it is what it
Yeah.
is. But there's something really beautiful about seeing a post and seeing like a typo or a
Yes.
sentence that doesn't quite make sense. And like the other night I was like spilling my guts out about how I found this photo of me from 10 years ago, and then here I am 10 years later, and then I did another story how I was like, it's taken what I meant to say was it's taking every ounce of my strength not to delete that last story. And I think I ended up writing it's taken everything strength. And I'm like, oh, the Virgo in me was just dying. But I was like, no, fuck it. It was honest. People know that you're writing this. It's like,
Yeah.
like those are those cute, those beautiful little human elements of like, yeah, a sentence not quite making sense or a little typo or a run-on sentence that goes on forever because you've said and a million times like I do when I speak. That's who I am.
Who would have thought to our like millennial selves that typos would be endearing when we got older? Like it would be a signal of people going, oh, I like you,
Yeah.
because I went to school with an English teacher who was like, typo, the red pen. Remember the red pen? Now it's like, it's a thing that makes people know you're human. Like who knew we would be here? On what you were just saying, like one thing that makes me want to die or like poke my eye out with a fork is this idea of like, sorry if that's dramatic, of pre-doing everything, like pre-scheduling. I feel, I hate it. I actually hate it. I give it a crack, but I can't do more than say like 2 or 3 emails or posts or something. And I very rarely do it. I'm very much in the moment. And even when I do, I'll write it. And the next day I'll go, oh, I've got a way better idea than that one that I came up with beforehand. But part of my conditioning, and so, I'm sure you're the same, like highly sensitive person, intuitive person, there's about 20% of the population that actually live and work like, who actually are like this. And for most of us, we're in these environments with the other 80% trying to learn how to do business. We don't do business in the same way. It's like you go into these environments and hope that they will just like beat the sensitivity out of you or beat the squirrel brain out of you or whatever. It's like, come on, if I just try hard enough, maybe I'll become one of those people who's really organized with a scheduler or something. And it never, yeah, it never works for me. And so embracing that has meant that I've actually rewired or rejigged my entire daily schedule so that I now have time in the mornings where I can just free write, and whatever comes out, comes out. And it actually means I am a little bit more organized because I've got that consistent time. But if you put a block in my calendar once a week for 3 hours and go, this is when you're going to write emails, it doesn't come out. It doesn't work then. You know what I mean? So embracing that energy, or that like the way that I do things, a natural way of doing things, and shifting my calendar around that has actually felt so good, so expressive, so healing, and like my creativity is coming back online again because there's no pressure. It's just a consistent space to kind of be there and see what shows up.
Oof, I love that so much. And I'm very much the same as well, is like I have had to learn to trust that I'm like, oh, why do I want to talk about this topic right now? It's like, oh, that doesn't really seem to make sense. And if I was having to report to someone about my marketing plan or my business plan, they'd be like, well, where does this fit in the plan? I'm like, I don't know. My
Yeah.
intuition told me to tell this story right now. But it's just so wild that when you follow those nudges and when you follow those little cues that your body or your intuition is giving you, oh, like it's so beautiful what happens as a result of that. And normally, and usually for me, it's beautiful, beautiful conversations in the DMs. I know that they're like all the marketers now are saying, we're entering the age of the lurker because, it's so much harder. Like engagement is down across the board, across every platform. And now it's more about, shareability and that kind of thing. But man, like when somebody takes the time to send me a message, and I get it, not everybody wants to comment on a post, not everyone has the time or the inclination, and that's so fine, personal preference, whatever. Um, but when somebody does take the time to send a message in the DMs and you get to have this beautiful conversation, behind closed doors, so to speak, in a digital space, it's really, really something very special. And I found that that happens the most when I just trust what story wants to come forward at that time and just share it. Just share it. And that's the magic. And I think that's also the fuel that helps keep me going and helps keep me showing up as well, despite how I may be feeling within myself or what I may be struggling with personally, is like, no, no, no. I know there's somebody out there who needs to hear this story so that they feel less alone. And I think that's my biggest driving force is I don't want to feel alone in all of this. And I think the more that I've been giving myself permission to just share openly, and like you said, we've all got our personal boundaries, we've all got our personal limits around privacy and what we do and don't share online, and I'm very aware of that. Um, yeah, but the more we do sort of like allow ourselves to create more freely, as you said, I think the more incredible it is for all of us.
People
Mm.
will connect with, I mean, I don't know where it comes from, but we're all pulling from that same pool of creativity. Something happens when you get an inspired idea and then you speak about it, and a business, an idea, a movement is created one person at a time. All it needs to do is connect with one person and you're on your way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I've always liked to say is like if you've been able to impact one other person, that's your impact doubled on this earth.
Oh,
You know?
that's so magic. That's so
Yeah.
nice.
Like that's
Yeah.
pretty special.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're not reaching thousands or you're not, on these big world stages, well, who cares?
Mm.
What if that's not meant to be your impact? What if you're meant to have this beautiful little ripple effect that starts with one and maybe it ripples out to tens? Like that's just as special and meaningful, I think, as well. And so, yeah, I just on your creativity, because you are such an incredibly creative person. Like, I love the way that your brain works because you take these thoughts or these experiences or these concepts and you just Haleyfy them, and then they come out in this like beautifully magical, lyrical, poetic, yet also fucking funny and witty, punchy kind of way. And I'm just like always like whenever you write something, I just like fucking like give this woman a multi-book deal. Like I could sit and read these words forever. Like so good. So good because you know that I love to write. And so when somebody is such an incredible writer, I am like fucking standing hat off. Like give me more of your goodness. Where are you really feeling your creativity leading you right now? Like, what are you wanting to share more of? How are you wanting to express yourself? Where are you wanting to express yourself? Like, what's really coming forward for you right now?
This is such a weird answer, but I just feel like there's an unhinged side of myself that I need to like let rip a
Hell
little
to the
bit.
yes.
I don't
I'm
know.
here for it.
I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm
Yeah,
here for it too. Like,
I love it. I love it. Haley Unhinged. Let's do it.
who knows? But yeah, I'm enjoying the writing. The writing helps
Mm.
me to actually sort of the opposite to you right now. When I'm speaking, it feels less, I don't know, punchy or something. But when I write it out, there's something else. There's something else that's happening. So
Mm.
letting it rip
Yeah.
by writing.
Yeah, I love it. I love that so much. Oh, it's so good. I mean, I could go here, there, and everywhere with you, but I feel like this is a really nice sort of moment in our conversation to really tie into the theme of this podcast series, which is all about the creatress. And I really do believe that there is a creatress that exists inside every woman because we are inherently here to create whatever it is in our lifetime. And so for the woman listening right now who feels like she's lost touch with her inner creatress or she wants to reconnect to it or bring her forward in some sort of way, what would you most want her to know?
First of all, I'd say, hey, you're listening to the right podcast, babe.
Yes.
And then I would say, don't listen to the bullshit stories that tell you you don't know what you want, because you fucking do know what you want. Everybody knows what they want. We just have these stories that say, well, who would I be if I followed it? And I don't know if I can do that. Or what if I do it ugly? Or what if I get it wrong? Or what if someone finds out and they judge me? All of that aside, you still know what it is that you want. So give yourself permission to want it. Give yourself permission to try it. It can be in secret. It can be for 1 minute, but don't buy into this bullshit idea that you don't know what you want, because you'll stay there for years and years and years. And I've never, ever, ever in my life, never met a woman who doesn't know what she wants. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you wipe away all that other stuff.
Oof. I was just like, oh, there was just so much truth in that. So much truth in that. I am with you. I think it is a bullshit narrative that we've been fed and we tell ourselves that we don't know what we want, when in actual fact we do. There's just whatever reason that's standing in the way of allowing us to just really tap into that truth and to go for it. And yeah, I'm really excited to see more and more women really stepping into their self-expression and their voice and their truth and just what it is that they want for themselves. Like, that's the ultimate, really, isn't it? And
Yep.
yeah,
We are so powerful when we do that. We're
yeah,
actually really unstoppable and really fucking scary. And that's a good thing.
that's a great thing. I love this so much. I am so grateful that we have reconnected into each other's orbits again. I'm so glad you're back online. I'm so glad I get to tap into all the Hayley goodness. And I'm so grateful that you have had this conversation with us here today. So thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Sonia. So great.